There are a lot of ways to approach mixing heavily distorted guitars, but in this clip Aaron explains his simple approach to achieve these crushing tones that you hear on of Mice and Men's Mosaic. Aaron uses a tool many of you probably already have in your toolbox and very minimal processing to create these crushing tones. Check it out and enjoy.
So the next thing I'll do is guitars. You probably could already guess at this point, but we're going to use a little EQ, and we're going to use an 1176. And here's the thing, too, is Native Instruments makes one, like a little VC76. There's a lot of different 1176s, and a lot of them are very usable. So anything that's comparable. I just like using these specifically because I sort of like the way that they, I like the way that they sound. I like the subtle color and distortion that they give the audio. So for this, it's sort of the same thing. I'll set it mid. I'll try and just maybe shave off half to a dB, just from the transients, keep sort of the same level. Oh, that part hurts my head right now. Okay. Yeah, that part has a lot of like weird low end in it. I'm talking about the phase guitar part that I'll EQ out, but listening to it in headphones when it's really loud, before you sort of take that out, it makes you feel almost queasy.
Hurts you.
So for this, I can hear in my headphones, because my headphones are very sub and bass focused. I can hear that there's like a little bit of low end that I don't want. So I'll take a shelf and I'll maybe go 3 dB, and I might just move it, to around 120. Some people I know will completely cut these out. All of these low end frequencies from guitars and stuff. But I don't mind it, because like I said, what I'm doing is I'm feeding a lot of audio into compressors. And whether or not you hear this audio being here is actual audio, whether your ears hear it or not, and it will change the way that it all affects your compressors. So you can cut out inaudible frequencies, and you'll find that, just because they're inaudible to you or to your system, especially in the sub area, you can end up throwing your compressors out of whack a little bit if you have a lot of that. But because these are, they're DIs that were then reamped using STL Tones Tone Hub, they're already moderately cleaned up. So not all the way, you still got to do some of the work, but that's the bass. That's the wrong one. All right. And then what I'll do is I'll take this guy and I'll sort of make myself a nice little shelf, and I'll kind of sweep this back and forth just to see if I can save myself some presence by maybe taking it out of the guitars. The guitars already don't have a lot in it, so it's not a super, super noticeable change. But it is something that I tend to do out of habit. And then whatever I use for one guitar on one side, I will use for the other, just as a foundational starting point. Because a lot of what I'm doing, I've already made a lot of the decisions before I print these, than now. Because you'll notice I'm using the printed stuff and not giving myself the temptation of using the DIs and the reamping. If I'm already really happy with the way that these sounded, I don't necessarily want to give myself that rabbit hole to get stuck in, because I will sit and try and figure out which amp sounds incrementally better, and the mix doesn't end up progressing. So let's listen to these on and off. Okay. Now what we've got is a stereo lead. And what I will do with this is I will use some EQ, and I will use the gaining on the EQ to just try and get it audible. So as I will sort of take mud out of it or take low end frequency out of it, I'll boost around the 2K, 2.5K, and then I'll just try and get that audible using just level before I use compression. Because if I recall, I don't think I used anything on this beyond just making it audible and cleaning it up tonally a little bit. So. Another useful tool, and I do this a lot, like what I'm doing is I'm listening to the track by muting it and hearing how it sounds without it and then putting it back in. Because sometimes the way your brain will work is a track like this lead, for example, right? You're listening to it and you're thinking, oh, I need to be able to hear it. Like I need to be able to hear this thing. And you don't really realize that you are hearing it. And as soon as you mute it, you realize how much it's actually carrying in terms of the overall dynamics and just the overall sound. So what I'll do sometimes in something like this that's more ethereal or more big reverb sound, the way that I can actually listen to it is by removing it and then putting it back. And then when I put it back, that gives my brain sort of the frame of reference of like, okay, it's there, versus like, I need to hear it more, because you can end up making it way too loud.
Mm-hmm.